Hello and welcome to the 7th session of English communication. Today we will be taking a look at reading skills. Let's start with a definition. Reading skills are abilities that pertain to a person's capacity to read, comprehend, interpret, and decode written language and texts. Exceptional reading skills can be highly beneficial to assimilate and respond to written communications like emails, messages, letters, and the like. Now let's take also a look at the purposes behind reading. Before actually beginning to read, it is important to know the purpose of reading. That is why the reading is actually being done. Knowing the purpose greatly enhances the effectiveness of reading. Also, knowing the purpose can help one adopt a style of reading that is best suited for the particular purpose. Now, there are several reasons why people usually read. Some of them are given on your screen. It could be for pleasure or enjoyment. There could be some practical application to it. Maybe it is to obtain an overview, to locate specific information, to identify the central idea or theme, or to develop a detailed and critical understanding. Now let's take a quick look at each of these reasons in a little bit of a detail. Reading can be done for pleasure and enjoyment, and this is probably the best reason to read anything. Reading entertains you, even relaxes you. However, this is rarely the purpose behind the reading one needs to do for academic purposes. Under practical application, the purpose is to gain information that you can apply or use in a practical situation. Books such as laboratory manuals, computer manuals, instruction booklets, and recipe books are all texts that you would consult with the purpose of gaining specific information. Another reason behind reading could be to get an overview. The point here is to get a general feel for the material, to determine whether it is relevant, useful, up to date, and to get a sense of how the topic is treated by the author. This is likely to be the main purpose behind your reading if and when you are given an extensive reading list for an assignment, you're doing initial library research for an essay, tutorial, report, or something like that. When you need to decide which texts are most relevant or useful for your assignment. Another reason behind reading could be to locate some specific information. At times, you know what you're looking for, but do not know exactly where to find it. You may be looking, for example, for any of the following: a specific quotation, evidence to support a particular argument, details about a specific person or event, a map or a diagram, or a statistic or table of statistics. To find this sort of information, you may have to consult several different books or sources. In these circumstances, you will be reading with the aim of zeroing in on the information that you are looking for. Another reason could be to identify the central idea or theme. The purpose here is to extract the essence of what the written material is trying to convey. For example, you might want to identify the major finding in an experimental article in a journal or the core issue of a discussion paper. The next reason is to develop a detailed and critical understanding. At times, you will need to master fully the material in a book, journal, article, or manual so that you can evaluate its arguments, perspectives, and evidence. This will require you to read the material thoroughly, make effective and relevant notes, and most importantly, keep an open mind by being aware of your own ideas and opinions regarding the issues involved. Now let's turn to the process of reading. There are many processes, but one of the most popular methods of reading is known as the SQ3R method. This means survey, question, read, recall, and review method. It involves these steps. The first one, of course, is survey. This is a pre-reading step where you survey the material prior to your actual reading by scanning the title, headings, and any summaries or abstracts. Before you actually begin reading the material, skim the entire reading material. Understand the organization of the reading material by going through the title page, the table of contents, the preface, the appendix, the bibliography, and so on. Next, survey each chapter. That is, go through the chapter, objectives, chapter summary, headings, and subheadings. Also, go through the illustrations, tables, graphs, and charts, and so on. All this will help in getting an idea about what the author is trying to convey. The next stage is question. Before reading, note down specific questions you would like to have answers to. This not only clarifies your purpose of reading, but also helps you focus and remember what you have read. Turn headings given into chapters questions. The 5 cardinal questions, who, why, what, where, and how, need to be answered. While reading, think of these questions, as this will help you concentrate on reading. At the end, again, think of these questions to get an idea of how successful or how successfully they have been answered. Use the same questions during revision to help you remember what you have read. Be an active reader. Question the author's thoughts and ideas. Read critically and do not passively accept what the writer is presenting in the text. A questioning attitude also facilitates learning. Now we come to the 3 stages of reading. The first is the information that is being presented on the page for all to read. This stage is called literal recognition because it just involves drawing literal meaning from the words of the writer. The second stage is reading between the lines, that is, inferring what the author is trying to convey through the text. This is called interpretative recognition. It involves understanding what the writer means, that is, the writer's interpretation of the text. The final stage is going beyond the text and generating new and creative thoughts based on the reader's previous knowledge, learning, and experience. This is called connective recognition. It results in the generation of new ideas, solutions, and looking at things with a new perspective or a change in view. Try to move to this final stage while reading so as to actually benefit from the reading. Stage 3 is read. Read all your material at least twice. Read for the first time without making notes. Also compare the diagrams and illustrations with the written text. Reread reports that are not clear. This may reduce your speed of reading, but that's okay. On your second reading, start to take notes. Look for important details, supporting evidence, and examples. Stage 4 is recall. Try to recall what you have read by closing the book and making notes of what you remember. Recalling will help you to commit all the information to long-term memory. You must recall at regular intervals to see and check your understanding of the material. Finally, review. Check to see what you have answered or questioned during the reading of the text. Note down any other point that you may think is important. The next subtopic that we will look at today is skimming and scanning. Now, both of these are strategies that are used for reading, but they are 2 very different, very distinct strategies. They're each used for different purposes, and they are not meant to be used all the time. They are at the fast end of the speed reading range, while studying is at the slow end. So remember this. People who know how to skim and scan are flexible readers. They read according to their purpose and get the information they need quickly without wasting time. They do not read everything, which is what increases their reading speed. And their skill lies in knowing what specific information to read and which method to use. Let's take a look at skimming first. Skimming is one of the tools you can use to read more in less time. Skimming refers to looking only for the general or main ideas and works best with non-fiction or factual material. While skimming, your overall understanding is reduced because you don't read everything. You read only what is important to your purpose. Skimming takes place while reading and allows you to look for details in addition to the main ideas. Now, how can one skim? Many people think that skimming is a haphazard process, placing the eyes wherever they fall. However, to skim effectively, there has to be a structure. You don't read everything, and what you read is far more important than what you leave out. So, what material should you read, and what material do you leave out? Let's say you're doing research on a long chapter or a website. By reading the first few paragraphs in detail, you will get a good idea of what information will be discussed. Once you know where the reading is headed, you can begin to read only the first sentence of each paragraph. Also called topic sentences, they give you the main idea of the paragraph. If you do not get the main idea in the topic sentence, or if the paragraph greatly interests you, then you may want to skim more. At the end of each topic sentence, your eyes should drop down through the rest of the paragraph, looking for important pieces of information, such as names, dates, or events. Continue to read only topic sentences, dropping down through the rest of the paragraphs until you are near the end. Since the last few paragraphs may contain a conclusion or summary, you should stop skimming there and read in detail. Remember that your overall comprehension will be lower than if you read in detail, so be aware of that. If while skimming, you feel you're able to grasp the main ideas, then you are skimming correctly. Now, when should one use this method of skimming? As skimming is done at a fast speed with less than normal comprehension, you shouldn't skim all the time. There are many times, however, when skimming is very useful. Suppose you're taking a presentation skills class and have to deliver an oral report in a few days about the first computers ever made, for example. You locate 6 books and 4 newspaper articles about this topic. Because you must be ready so soon, you do not have the time to read each word, but you will need a large quantity of solid information. Skimming will help you locate the information quickly while making sure you use your time wisely. It will also increase the amount of usable material you obtain for your research. Suppose you have an exam in a few days. You need to review the material you learned, but you don't want to reread everything. By skimming, you can quickly locate the information you haven't read yet and study only that material. While reading, ask yourself the following questions to help you decide whether or not to skim. If you answer yes to any of these, then skimming is a useful tool. Is this material non-fiction? Do I have a lot to read and only a small amount of time? Do I already know something about this? Can any of the material be skipped? If you have sufficient background information or believe you don't need the information, then skip it. That's right, don't read it at all. Believe it or not, skipping material may sometimes be the best use of your time. Just because someone wrote something doesn't mean you have to read it. If you pick and choose carefully what you skim and skip, you will be pleasantly surprised at the large amount of information that you can get through in a relatively shorter period of time. Scanning is the next tool of reading that we are going to talk about. Now, scanning is another useful tool for speeding up your reading. Unlike skimming, when scanning, you look only for a specific fact or piece of information without reading everything. You scan when you look for your favorite show listed in the menu, or your friend's phone number in your contact list, and for, of course, sports scores. For scanning to be successful, you need to understand how your material is structured, as well as comprehend what you read so you can locate the specific information that you want. Scanning also allows you to find details and other information quickly. Now, how can you scan? Since you already scan many different types of material in your daily life, learning more details about scanning will be comparatively easy. Establishing your purpose, locating the appropriate material, and knowing how the information is structured before you start is essential to scanning. The material you scan is typically arranged in the following ways. Some material will be arranged alphabetically, some chronologically or non-alphabetically, by category or textuality. Alphabetical information is arranged from A to Z, while chronological information is arranged in time or numerical order. Information can also be arranged in a non-alphabetical order, such as a television listing, or by category, like a list of items in an auto parts catalog. Sometimes information is located within the written paragraphs of text, also known as textual sense, as in an encyclopedia or dictionary entry. Now, learning to use your hands while scanning is very helpful in locating specific information. Do you do anything with your hands to locate a word in the dictionary, if it is paper or online, to find a meeting time on your calendar? Use your hand or finger, and this is extremely useful and helpful in focusing your attention and keeping your place while scanning a column of material. When your hand moves up and down a list of names, your peripheral vision can also help you scan effectively. You see not only the name your fingers are pointing to, but also the names above and below. Let your eyes work for you when searching for information. Next, keep the concept of keywords in mind while scanning. Your purpose will determine the keywords. Suppose you're looking for the time a train leaves from Mumbai for Delhi. The keywords to keep in mind are from Mumbai and to Delhi. Or if you're looking for the cost of a computer printer with the code number PX710, the keyword to locate in a list of many printers will be PX710. Now, when should you scan? You scan when your aim is to find specific pieces of information. If you're doing research for an oral presentation, you can scan the index of books, websites, and reference materials. You will discover whether they contain any information you want and the pages where the information can be found. Now, in the past, you have probably scanned without knowing that you were doing it, or without knowing that the process was called scanning. Now, with the information provided in this section, you can use scanning more intentionally and frequently. The more you practice, the more effective scanning will become. Finally, the most important benefit of scanning is its ability to help you become a more flexible reader. Scanning adds another high gear to your reading. Because you may be used to reading every word and may be uncomfortable leaving some words out, you need to give yourself the permission to overlook some words by skimming, scanning, and skipping material according to your reading purpose. Next, let's take a quick look at levels of reading. There are 4 levels of reading, and we will talk about these in a bit. Now, the goal of reading determines the best way to read the material in question. If we are reading for entertainment, we are going to read very differently than if we are reading to build a rocket ship. So purpose matters. A thorough understanding of the levels of reading is necessary before we can improve our reading skills. There are 4 levels of reading skills. These are thought of as levels because you can't reach the higher levels without a firm understanding of the previous ones, right? They are cumulative, so they all come together. Let's take a quick look at this picture that has been shown to us, right? There are 4 levels of reading. The first is elementary. The second is inspectional. The third is analytical, and the fourth is syntopic. Let's look at this in a little more detail. Now, what do we mean by elementary reading? The first level of reading is elementary reading, which is what we learn to do in school. Most of us never get beyond this level. As one crosses this level, one passes from illiteracy to at least beginning literacy. In mastering this level, one learns the rudiment of the art of reading, receives basic training in reading, and acquires initial reading skills. Right, so this is maybe the first 1 or 2 years of school in your case. The second stage is called inspectional reading. The second level is inspectional reading, which can be thought of as intelligently skimming a book in a limited amount of time. Not only does this prime our brain with the material in the book, but it helps us determine if we want to read the entire book. Another name for this level might be skimming or pre-reading. However, we do not mean the kind of skimming that is characterized by casual or random browsing through a book. Inspectional reading is the art of skimming systematically. Now, the point of inspectional reading is to examine the surface of the book. Now, the question that is asked at the first level is, what does a sentence say? The question typically asked at this level is, what is the book about? What's the structure of the book? Or what are its parts? Inspectional reading is not appreciated by a lot of readers because they see it as a waste of time. A lot of people also like to read linearly. They pick up a book, turn to page 1, and plow steadily through it without ever reading so much as the table of contents. They're thus faced with the task of achieving superficial knowledge of the book at the same time that they're trying to understand it. And this makes reading more difficult, not less. The third level of reading is called analytical reading, which goes deeper than inspectional. If your goal in reading is entertainment or acquiring information, analytical reading is not necessary. However, if you're reading to improve understanding, analytical reading is needed. It is both a more complex and a more systematic activity than either of the two levels of reading discussed so far. Analytical reading is thorough reading, complete reading, or good reading, the best reading that you can do. If inspectional reading is the best and most complete reading that is possible within a limited amount of time, then analytical reading is the best and most complete reading that is possible given unlimited time. The analytical reader must ask many organized questions on what he is reading. It is always an intensely active process. At this level of reading, the reader grasps a book and works at it until the book becomes his own. The final and most difficult stage of reading is called syntopical reading. It makes very heavy demands on the reader, even if the materials he is reading are themselves relatively easy and unsophisticated. Another name for this level might be comparative reading. When reading syntopically, the reader reads many books, not just one, and places them in relation to one another and to a subject around which they all revolve. But mere comparison of texts is not enough. With the help of the books read, the syntopical reader is able to construct an analysis of the subject that may not be mentioned in any of the books. It is obvious, therefore, that syntopical reading is the most active and effortful kind of reading. Now, before we leave, we will just take a quick look at reading and comprehension. Now, reading comprehension is the ability to process a text, understand its meaning, and integrate it with what the reader already knows. The fundamental skills required in efficient reading comprehension are knowing the meaning of words, the ability to understand the meaning from the context, to follow the organization of the passage, and to identify antecedents and references in it. Also, the ability to draw inferences, identify the main thought or idea, and the ability to answer questions related to the passage. Equally important is the ability to recognize the literary devices or the structures used in a passage, to determine its tone, understand the situational mood, etc. And finally, the ability to determine the writer's purpose, intent, and point of view. We also use it to draw inferences about the writer, to form opinions. Since all of us have definitely studied reading comprehension through many years, I believe that this little bit of information should be enough. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next class.